like I used to, and I need another notch on my belt. If you're looking for a six-pack, muscled up kind of man, better look somewhere else. Yeah, I can stand to lose a few pounds, but for right now, I'm working on my dad bod.
Oh my God.
Hot dog, it's a full-time job.
It's bacon time, everybody. Welcome to Dads with Bacon Talking Sports. I am Papa Bacon, aka Aaron Ludwig, and welcome to this episode for June 12th, 2025. I'm going to start talking here, even though I'm waiting for a couple of the other guys to join me. The summertime is always interesting because of the fact that, obviously we're all dads that do the show for the most part. And, we all have other things going on in our lives that take precedence. So whether it's softball, like my daughter has, which is on Wednesday nights, Mondays and Wednesdays, or I know our guy Ben, Big Ben, has baseball tonight with his son, I believe, and we have all kinds of different things going on in the summertime, so it's crazy. But we'll be talking. Hopefully, we'll be joined pretty quick here by. I know Charles was going to hop on, and TJ possibly along with Steve if Steve can hop on too. So yeah, it's been interesting playoff season so far for both the NHL and NBA. Feel free to hop on. I am going to here. Hold on. I'm going to do something that we don't usually do, and I'm going to put something on my profile as I'm doing this live. And actually, I'll put it in the comments section. This is a code if you want to hop on and contribute to the show. We'll see how this goes. I think it's been a while since we've actually done that, and it could be interesting, or it could be something where we completely crash and burn. But it's in the comments section if you're watching this on my Facebook profile. So feel free to do that. But again, we're talking about NBA playoffs. We have right now the Indiana Pacers up 2-1 over the OKC Thunder. And for those of you who have watched us in the past or see my posts, you'll know I'm not a fan of the Indiana Pacers, but I'll have to give them credit. They've beaten. I'm a Bucks fan. They've beaten the Bucks now 2 years in a row in the first round of the playoffs, 4-1 each year. And to me, I've always said, actually beat the Bucks when they're at full strength. Last year, they were missing Giannis the entire series. And then this year, obviously they had Dame for, I believe, in fact, the stat was that they had Giannis and Damian Lillard between those 10 games. So basically you had the 10 games of those two series where they lost 4-1 in each series. Out of those 10 games, Giannis and Dame played together for a total of 29 minutes. So, my whole theory was, actually play the Bucks when you're healthy, when they're fully healthy, and we'll see how you do. But I got to give, credit where credit is due to the Indiana Pacers. They've done a hell of a job. And here, I'm going to bring on Charles. Hey, buddy.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Nice.
I brought a friend with me.
Yeah.
This is Jar Jar Bricks. Yes, that's right.
Nice.
Umari, a little 5 on there. There we go. Just in case anyone wasn't clear about my shot there.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
So we're talking. I just started talking here. You can't stand what?
I said I can't stand that broad.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan, but I'm more. I'll say this, since we're talking basketball anyway. I was talking about the NBA a little bit. I'm more of a, I normally don't go out of my way to rip on her, but she does. She does so much whining that it drives me nuts. Like, if you're either embrace the role, and I think we've talked about this before, either embrace the role of the heel, embrace the role of the person that people are going to hate, like they do in wrestling, or, or don't don't make a big deal about people like Caitlin. So, that's all I'm going to say about that.
My thing is she acts so high and mighty, and she sucks. Yes,
Yeah.
she can rebound. Of course, 33% of her rebounds come from her own shots.
Yeah.
But that's all she can do.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got accolades in college because it's college, and she was on a very good team with other good players, but I mean, she acts all like she's like her shit don't stink, and it does.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She reminds me a lot of that championship. Now I was around. I was I think 3 years old when Larry Bird played Magic Johnson in the college basketball championship with Indiana State and Michigan State. So I wasn't old enough to really know what the heck was going on. But you see highlights of that game, and that was a game where Indiana State was completely overmatched because Michigan State just decided to take care of Larry Bird and let the rest of the team beat them, and they couldn't. And that kind of, I don't want to act like I'm an expert on women's college basketball because I'm not. In fact, that was like one of the first women's college basketball games I had ever really paid attention to, was between LSU and Iowa that year in the championship game. But it kind of felt like that sort of thing. LSU had a very good team, and Iowa had Caitlin Clark and some very quality, surrounding players, or what do they call it?
Complimentary players.
Yeah, complimentary players, and they just weren't able to do it. Anyway, what are your thoughts on? Have you been able to watch any of the NBA finals?
A little bit. I've seen more highlights than games.
Sure.
But I mean, I like what I'm seeing. It's summertime, so the kids are up a little later. It's harder to get my sports watching in. But man, I mean, look, it's like we talked about this beforehand. When the Pacers were playing the Knicks, they're just such a fast team. It's just so hard for teams to keep up for a full 4 quarters. They just play and play and play and just run and run and run. And while, Oklahoma, the Thunder probably are the better team in this series, the Pacers have a better game plan. And I think it's going to work for them. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying before you hopped on, I mean, you gotta give credit where credit's due. I mean, I've been a hater of the Pacers for a few years now, not necessarily just for this series. And, but yeah, they've been outplaying their opponents, and the whole idea, and I said it on my personal, Facebook profile, when the series started, and Indiana stole game 1 in OKC, and all these, I don't know who exactly creates at the sports books, who comes up with the lines and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, they had Oklahoma City as one of the highest favorites certainly in recent years, let alone in like the last 30 years in terms of favorites to win the championship in this series. And, I mean, it was comparable to, I believe, back when Shaq and Kobe and the Lakers played Allen Iverson in Philadelphia. I mean, they were heavy favorites in that one. I think there was one of the years that Golden State played Cleveland in the finals. They were heavy favorites, and OKC was favored by almost as much as those teams were. And I'm not really sure what those, quote unquote experts, what they've been watching, because this Indiana team has been, with the exception of maybe the Bucks series, they've been underdogs every single series, and they really haven't had a whole lot. I mean, even Cleveland, who I thought would just roll over Indiana pretty much rolled over them. I mean, yeah. I don't see what these people are seeing. Well, they thought this was going to be a blowout to begin with.
I mean, the thing is on paper, Oakland is the better team. They've been one of the favorites for, the latter half of the NBA season.
Yeah.
I mean, they were one of the teams like they may do this. This could be their year. You know, they were built for this championship. Whereas the Pacers, they weren't even supposed to be here. You know, so it's just, I mean, no matter how you look at it, the Pacers have to be the underdog in this series. Yes, give them credit. They're playing damn good in the playoffs. But again, they still weren't supposed to be here. So that's still, eventually the shoe falls off kind of thing. You know what I mean? So they're like the Cinderella right now, but they just don't stop. Maybe that clock ain't going to hit midnight for the Pacers.
Yeah, well, and you know
who's dancing at the ball.
That's and you know who's probably really pissed right now. I heard this morning going into work. The show I always listen to, they were talking about, and I don't know who it is. It's some random sports fan had put a futures bet on, and it was a five team parlay for the championships over the different leagues. So and they had picked. And I'm trying to think of all five. They picked this person put $13 on a 5-team parlay, and they picked Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl, which they did. They picked I can't remember what team was it, the New York Liberty that won the WNBA title last season, and they got that right, or whoever it was, they got that one right. And then they picked. Ah, crap! Now I'm forgetting the third team, but they also picked Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup, and they picked OKC to win the NBA championship. If all five of those, and the first three, again, I can't remember the third one, but the first three all hit, and if the last two, if Edmonton comes back to win the NHL championship, and if OKC comes back to win the NBA championship, this person wins $200,000 for their $13 bet. And apparently right now there's a buyout. They can buy it out for like $60,000, which to me, I would take the buyout.
I would take that. Look, Joe, and just to let you know, I could get knocked off at any moment. We're under like some serious, severe thunderstorms now.
You guys have a lot of those, don't you?
Dude, this rainy season has been nuts so far. Yeah. But I mean, we've got stuff. We're like covered in red on the radar until about 1:30.
Oh wow!
And so so I can't actually right now. I can't even get the damn hockey game up on the TV screen.
Sure.
But the Oilers they were down I think 3-0, but it is 2-3 now. Okay. With 5 minutes left in the second period. But look, if the Oilers don't win this game, if that guy's got the buyout still available tomorrow, I would take that because, look, Florida, as we've seen in the last game, is going to – oh, my God, the Oilers just scored. It's tied up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That update just came through as I was saying it. But I think the Panthers are shown one way or another they're going to whoop that ass. And they definitely did in the last game. So, literally and freaking figuratively.
Well, yeah, and I was wondering, I don't remember if you mentioned or if you answered on my, because I posted, because I mean, I don't watch the NHL on a regular
basis. About the
basis.
game getting chippy?
Yeah. That is Edmonton normally like that, or were they just kind of pissed and
Dude, it's been a while since I've seen a game where all three periods end in brawls. I mean that was insane. They're mad, dude. But I mean, look, there was some cheap shots, and I think Edmonton, they knew they were getting beat. They had to do something. Yeah. And in hockey, that's something you can do. But for sure. It didn't work. But emotions are high this game for sure. But like I said, Edmonton just tied it up with about 4 minutes or so in the second period. I really wish I could get the game to work. A little disappointed about that. But no, I mean, there's this neither of these teams, I don't think. Now, I didn't watch a lot of Edmonton in the regular season.
Sure.
But the Panthers, I mean, I haven't seen them get in fights like that for a while. I mean, when they play like Tampa Bay or the Canes, one of those like rival teams. But I thought that was a bit much. I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved it. But I thought it was a bit much for both of those teams in that I mean, we had 10 men fighting at the end of the game.
Yeah.
It's bad when the point where the refs are like, all right, we're just gonna let them do this.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, so who are you taking Florida then to win? I mean, or
I've
do
been
you
taking
think
Florida all
Edmonton
season to win.
Yeah.
No, I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
I said they were going to defend the championship, and I'm staying with that shit. The Panthers have a great team, and they made some great moves at the trade deadline, to solidify that team. And I'm just, they're good to go. I think they're going to get it. I really do think they'll end up winning tonight. But I think Edmonton will get one more win before this is all over.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hop over to the NFL here. I was planning on being more prepared, but then we were actually my wife and I were watching because the Brewers have this Jacob Misiorowski, who's the number one pitching prospect, just had his first start tonight, first official start with the Brewers, and I know they were up 6-0.
Let me pull up the scores right now.
Yeah, let's.
They are up. They are bottom of the 8th. It's still 6-0.
Okay, yeah, because they
Speaking
were
of baseball.
Go ahead.
I am taking my youngest to his first baseball game this weekend for Father's Day. I'm super excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now is that Braves? I'm assuming.
We're gonna go. No, we're gonna go. Hell no, the Braves are too expensive. Are you kidding me? I can't afford that fancy new park they got down there outside of Atlanta. No, man, we're going to the Stripers. We're going to their minor league team. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if any of the Braves are down there right now. I think for the most part, nobody's rehabbing.
They just had a nice series over my Brewers, so I was a little annoyed at that. The Brewers had won 9 out of 10 and then ended up losing, I think 3 out of 4, including 2 out of 3 to the Braves, and
even a blind dog finds a bone sometimes.
Well, yeah, I know.
Braves are not good right now.
No, they're not, which is why it was all the more disappointing to see the Brewers.
Terrible.
The Brewers, I don't know what the Braves issue. I mean, you can talk more about the Braves issue, but the Brewers have this thing where, they score a ton of runs and then they'll go through a series where they score, 5 runs in the entire series. And that's kind of what ended up happening with that. They were able to, I think they won 4-1 or 5-1 in game 2, but I think lost 1-0 in the rubber match on Wednesday. And what sucked was they had, from what I heard, it was during the day, obviously. So I didn't get to watch it, but they had, I think 7 or 8 guys that they left in scoring position throughout the game. So they had opportunities. But they just they go through, they've got good pitching. They get good hitting in spurts. They need to figure out, how to get better hitting more consistently. But what are your Braves problems? What's going on with them?
All right. So there's several problems. The bullpen is an absolute fucking mess, and it has been for years. They can't seem to fix pitching on the Braves. Like, we have a couple of great frontline pitchers. I mean, Chris Sale is doing it again, just like I said he was going to. We've got AJ. He's looking pretty good. I mean, we've got some good guys in the rotation, but I mean, this bullpen is an absolute joke. And as you see, like on Sunday, I mean, they should have beat the Giants and blew that. They blew one against Arizona a couple of games before. They bring up freaking Craig Kimbrell, which one of my favorites, a absolute fan favorite.
Yeah.
They had him down at Gwinnett. I was actually kind of hoping he was still going to be at Gwinnett when we went to the game. But, they've had him down at Gwinnett for most of the season. And they brought him up. They let him play 1 inning. And, okay, yes, he gave up a hit, and I think he walked a guy. But he closed out the inning without giving up any runs. And he had it was a pretty good inning for him. And then they DFA him the next day. Like, what in the world? Now he's playing for the Rangers. He just signed for the Rangers, who, by the way, put a whooping on the Twins 16-3 today, if you didn't see, in a barrage of home runs. But I mean, I honestly think I can't. A lot of Braves fans, I think some people would tell you that it's the front office, and I do not think that is it. AA is very, very good. He is good as what he does. He comes up with great contracts. Our lineup is a very good lineup for the most part. I mean, 1 through 6 is incredible. We should be killing people with that lineup. Some of them are a little streaky at times and all, but like Snit, dude, our manager is done, and he's been done for a while. I get it. He got us a World Series just a few years back, but he's made some questionable managing decisions for the last 3 seasons or so, and he's a great coach, but his time is over. I mean, he's getting old. This is the last year on his contract. They've pretty much already said that he's not getting another contract, that this is going to be it for him, but they're not going to fire him during the middle of the season. Sure. And then they go and bring fucking Freddie G back. Are you kidding me? I'm so mad about it, I can't breathe. I'm actually getting over being sick. That's why my voice sounds like this. But I mean, we're talking a guy that the fans and all practically wanted to run out of town.
Yeah.
Like Freddie Gonzalez. No way. Like, this has got to be one of the most hated managers in Braves history. We all loved Bobby Cox, and we just got really spoiled by having him as our guy for so many years.
Oh, yeah.
And Freddie G comes in, and it was just an absolute mess. The whole thing with Dan Uggla. I swear to God, if Dan Uggla shows up on this coaching staff somewhere, because wherever Freddie goes, Danny Boy shows up later. Like, I will flip my shit. I will take a knife and I will cut my Braves tattoo right off my leg. I can't even take that anymore. But like, the management is just piss poor. Like, can we please, like, let Andrew Jones and Chipper take over this team? Like, come on, bring these guys in. They're both ready to be skippers. Bring them in and let's do it, because that's the problem. Like, the lineup, half the time to me, the batting order doesn't necessarily make sense. Some of the decisions with pitching and especially with the bullpen, like, this guy does not know how to use relievers. He's just completely forgotten how. And that's the core of the problem. It's our skipper and it's our bullpen. And those are 2 things that if they ain't good, you're not going to win.
Sure.
That's 2 key parts. I mean, we can go 7 innings of every game and look really good, but it don't matter if we can't close it. It's been a mess. This has been a disappointing season. It really has.
I was going to say, because I remember when we did our picks, I think most of us were at least picking the Braves to be in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if how many of us picked them to beat, Philadelphia or the Mets. And actually, I think most of us didn't even pick the Mets to make the playoffs, if I remember correctly.
No, the Mets, they will still suck. They'll collapse. They'll do Mets things.
They'll do Mets things. Yeah,
they will collapse. Just wait till after the All-Star break. They will start losing games in chunks. That's what they do. That is what the Mets do.
True.
They choke. But yeah, no, I think a lot of us did have the Braves. I know Troy and I both did. And it was reasonable to think that a bounce back would be coming. Last year, the Braves should have been one of the best teams, and on paper they were, but they were just a barrage of injuries.
Yeah,
took them out of contention. But it's still you've got 3 really good frontline starters. And that's more than most clubs have. And I'm not sitting here and saying that we've got the best rotation in baseball, because we're far from it. But we're in the top half of the pack, for sure. And we're getting our lineup is healthy. That's the whole thing. We got Acuna back now. Murphy's in there. We've got some young guys like Baldwin and Eli White that have stepped up as well. Everybody's healthy. But it's just not working. It's just not working. I mean, and when you lose a game, what was the score of the Giants? I want to say we lost 10-11, like blew it in the last inning of the game or something. You shouldn't be losing games that you score double-digit runs in. That shouldn't happen in baseball.
It shouldn't. No, it should not. You are correct. All right. Well, let's
mess.
transition. Let me ask you. I see your Manchester.
Baby, my new shirt for the game.
I was going to say
10 days to go.
10 days from now. What game is that now?
This is the Club World Cup.
Okay.
Man City is playing in Atlanta versus LANFC. So we've got one of the Saudi Arabian teams. I am very, very excited about this. PSG, of course, coming off of a huge trophy win, is the favorite right now. When you break it down by percentages, I want to say that they were like 18.3% chance to win. Right behind them is Man City. They're the second favorite, and they were like a 17.8% chance to win.
Okay.
So, they're coming in as one of the large favorites, and we're in the group play. We're getting the game. The only thing that worries me is that so for those who don't know, the Club World Cup does start this weekend. Kicks off Saturday. Of course, Miami is kicking it off in Miami.
Sure.
Who are they playing? I'd have to pull up all the group stages, but we've got a bunch of groups. Group play is going to go on for a couple of weeks, and then we'll get into, and that's a round robin. There's 4 teams in each group. Everybody's going to play.
Yeah.
Everybody, top 2 teams from each group are going to move on. Poor Seattle, who is the MLS's only other team in there besides, I believe is the only other team in there besides Miami, is in Paris Saint-Germain's group. So good luck with that because that team is on fire. But yeah, so Mercedes-Benz, the host cities you're going to coincide with the host cities for the World Cup next year.
Okay. All right.
And they're trying to make it a big deal. This is going to be a fun thing.
Sure.
Depending on who you ask, this is going to be a major trophy. And to some people, it just doesn't matter. Now, I know that Manchester and Foden himself just said it the other day. Like they want to bring home the hardware. This is a big thing. They want to win the Club World Cup because that's what it is. When we have the World Cup and that's countries, this is the Club World Cup. It's the best individual clubs in the world playing against each other in a tournament that'll go from now until almost the end of July.
Okay.
We're showcasing it over here in America. The semifinals of the championship will be played at MetLife. Philly's hosting, Atlanta's hosting, Orlando's hosting, Miami's hosting, LA. The only thing that worries me with the Man City game is that their first game is on Wednesday of next week, and then they're going to turn around and play on Sunday. So they're not getting as big of a break in between their first 2 games as some of the clubs will be.
Sure.
But I mean, we're not. I'm not scared of the Saudi teams. So, and they just put out the roster. They just set. It'll be a 27-man roster for each team. Everybody that we want to see for Man City is on the roster. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Haaland's going to be there. We both got new shirts. This is my Father's Day gift. I get to take one to a baseball game and one to a Club World Cup game. I'm very excited. This is an awesome Father's Day. And we got shirts as well. I have a family member who works for Fanatics, so I got a pretty good deal on the shirts. And
nice.
he got a Foden shirt because AJ is. I keep pointing over here. We're in the storm, so I let him fall asleep on the couch over here next to me. But he got a Foden shirt because that's one of his heroes.
Okay.
It's a little big for him, but it'll be all right. So we're going to go down there, and I've got him learning the chants and stuff. They're doing – and for anyone who's going or has these games in the area too, I unfortunately found this out a little too late, but some of these teams are doing free kids soccer clinics. While they're in town. Man City is actually doing 2 of them. They start now. The games that we're going to is a 9:00 at night game, but they were doing one down. 2 of them, one near I say near us. Nothing in Atlanta is like near us, but on our side of Atlanta at 9:30 in the morning for 6 to 8 year olds. Unfortunately, all the slots were filled by the time I found out about it. But if you're in one of these cities that have these games, and like I said, these games are going all the way through, I believe, like July 23rd, something like that. There's stuff going on for all of these teams. They've got a fanfare that we're going to go to at 7:30 down at the stadium before the game that you can, if you have a ticket, you can get into.
Okay.
They've got the city supporters gathering is going to be at one of the breweries in Atlanta on Friday night. So they're doing a big thing there. They're doing all kinds of events, and a lot of the other teams as well are. And, the Premier League is also doing the Premier League Summer Tour over here in the United States. Here in Atlanta, we get Man U and it was a good set. I think Everton, Man U, and the two other teams. But that's a buy one ticket, get to see two games. Ours is on a Sunday, starts at 2 p.m, and you'll see 4 Premier League squads face off, at each other. So the Premier Leagues, they're coming over here and they're trying to, just like we're doing over there with the NFL. Yeah. They're trying to do that with the Premier League over here. And this summer is a real big boost for that, especially with the Americas hosting the World Cup next year. Yeah. So a lot of cool soccer opportunities. I'm really stoked. We actually ended up getting really good seats. We're in the lower level. I'm very excited about that. One of the things with the Club World Cup that's been going on is the ticket sales haven't been what they thought they were going to be. And so gradually over the last month, the ticket prices have been getting lower and lower. And so, we got a really good deal. I think I got tickets for somewhere just around $40 each.
I was going to say, I thought when you told us you got tickets that it was pretty cheap. It was a pretty low price. That's a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can go on Ticketmaster, and there's tickets available for all the matches. Now, when I look, if you want to go see Messi, those ones are still kind of pricey if you want good seats, but only because it's Messi. But I mean, I think this is going to be a cool thing. Now, I know, I'm into soccer a bit more than some of the other guys. Not Ben. I was hoping Ben was going to be on here tonight. I wore this just for him, just to let him know whose team is boss. But so I hope he's getting to peek in at the show. It's an awesome sport.
Yeah.
And, go to an MLS game. The atmosphere is great. I mean, it's like hockey on grass, man. It really is. And the atmosphere is like that of a hockey game. Like you go to a hockey game, man, fans, that is an intense, fun crowd.
Sure.
I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Hockey is the best sport to go see live. Now, I don't know. Going to this game may change my mind.
Sure.
About that statement. We'll see. But I mean, this is just a cool thing. We're super excited about it, and I hope, because the fact of the matter is that soccer is the world's most popular sport.
Yeah.
It's not America's most popular sport, but it is the world's most popular sport. And these guys are good. And, if you want a good sport for your kids to play, soccer is a great one. Now, AJ absolutely loves it, man. He's going to be – right now, man, he's going to be the next Pulisic. That's where we're at. Everywhere he goes, every team he plays on. We just had soccer camp. He is really, really good. Of course, he's also 7, so – it's not necessarily hard. I don't want to be too dad about it. Like, my kid's the greatest. But he might be. He might be. I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So here in a couple of years, I'm going to get them into. They have kind of like travel ball and stuff like that. They've got academy soccer and stuff, and so you got to try out and then we'll see. Then we'll see. But I mean, rec soccer is an awesome sport for kids to play. It's a lot of fun to watch. So it's like, to me, this is a cool thing. What we've got going on, especially this summer and next summer with the World Cup, the Club World Cup, the Premier League Tour, and all of that. And the thing is that we're blessed too, because seriously, some of the greatest players to ever play are still playing right now. Yes, Ronaldo's getting older. Yes, Messi is older and stands around a lot. He doesn't play like he used to, but it is still greatness. And all of these guys next year are going to be in the World Cup. It's like saying, we have Foden, your Premier League Player of the Year last year. Haaland, is one of the greatest players in the world. They're both on Manchester City. We're going to get to see them play in person. You've got guys, Neymar, and all. They're all going to be playing for their countries next year. So it's a great time to start getting into soccer. And if you want to watch soccer, man, soccer is always on. There's so many leagues. There's so many major leagues that you can always find a soccer game or a replay. Whatever streaming app you have, I guarantee you they sponsor or air at least one soccer league.
Yeah.
Because everybody does. Everybody's doing it.
For sure. All right, let's transition to the real football. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna knock soccer.
More that foosball.
Yeah, the foosball. Let's talk a little, and then I want to introduce a contest that I'm going to be putting up over the next few days. I have to actually do all the brackets, but I have one bracket put together. And
I'm excited to talk some football with you because I have a great stat to throw out tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you start with that? Because then I have a question about your Colts.
Oh yeah. I got something to say about that too. So. Did y'all know, this is more of a fun fact for you. The Pittsburgh Steelers' odds to win the Super Bowl made zero change by the signing of Aaron Rodgers. Zero change. Nobody in the world said, you know what, let's go bet on them to win the Super Bowl now. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Okay, so that's you brought that up. I was hoping. Oh, here's Steve. Almost on cue. Almost on cue.
It's like you say Steelers and he just.
I know.
Here we go. Forever. Like I was counting how many weeks it's been since.
I know.
Since we've had the pleasure of all being together.
Yep. So it's Steve. Welcome back.
Oh.
It's You got to skip out on a little bit of NHL talk and NBA talk and stuff, and then soccer talk.
Steve, are you going to go to any of the World Cup games up there? There's several around you.
Yeah,
the Club World Cup.
Philadelphia is further away. Like I'd rather fly to Atlanta and go at Mercedes-Benz.
They're playing in DC as well.
Yeah. I'd rather fly to Atlanta. I'd rather see the game at Mercedes-Benz.
Come on, man. Come on down next Sunday.
Let me say one thing before we jump into the Steelers. Mad props to TJ McConnell and the Pacers. That's all I got to say, guys. And props to his dad, Tim, who got some FaceTime on the national broadcast last night. Hell of a guy, hell of a family. Amen. Go Pacers. Put that to bed.
Okay, well, do you know them personally
yes.
or you? Oh, you do?
I know them personally.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yes.
All right, so let's and we could talk more about them too, but let's since you jumped in here,
card to get signed.
Just we got some memorabilia. Maybe you get some.
Right.
So, since you jumped in here with just as we're talking about the NFL here, what are your thoughts? You said you had a ton of stuff to talk about if you were gonna, if you were able to get on the show. So the stage is yours, Steve.
Here's the thing about this week in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers slid into town at the exact correct moment. And I will tell you all why. Because Monday was Cam Hayward's golf outing. So he got to come into town. He went, and him and DK Metcalf went as a pair and went golfing together. So that was the introduction.
Can't he?
What's that?
He can golf too, can't he? Isn't he?
I guess so. I mean, that was his welcome to Pittsburgh. Sunday he signed his contract. Monday he went golfing. Tuesday he was at practice, and that's when everybody caught the wedding ring on his finger and said, "Hey, Aaron, did you get married?" Like, and that was the first topic. Wasn't like welcome to Pittsburgh. It was like, "Oh, you're married now." But then a thing called the U.S. Open golf tournament started. And all of the resources for the sportscasters in Pittsburgh have been shifted away from, except for a few, from the south side of Pittsburgh, where the Steelers practice, out to Oakmont, where the U.S. Open is.
Fourth time they've hosted it, tied for the most.
No, they've hosted it more than that.
Fifth time, I think.
Yeah, Oakmont's got the lead right now, and they're going to keep but the big thing to understand is that there is very little being said about the Steelers and their mandatory minicamp right now. It's all about what's going on at Oakmont. So Aaron Rodgers was able to slip into town. He got some FaceTime on TV. He's getting FaceTime on socials because some of the reporters are the Steelers reporters, but like the one newscast tonight in Pittsburgh was the NBC station who has the rights to the U.S. Open. It was wall-to-wall U.S. Open coverage. All the sports reporters were out there. All the news people were out there. I wasn't a peep about Aaron Rodgers. It was about what's going on with the U.S. Open. So by the time we see this again, it's going to be next week. Aaron's going to have put in his time, and I think it's going to blow. A lot of the controversy is going to have blown over, and I think people are warming up to it. There was more consternation last week when it came out that he was signing, that it was happening. You know, the reactions were mixed of like, well, he's here. People were like, why did the Steelers let him string them out for as long as he did?
Yeah.
Was a lot of the frustration of like, if you knew you were coming, just like come. He did say that he did have some family issues he had to deal with. Members of his family that have cancer. Hope they're okay. We're thinking about them. But it's not gotten the blow up that I think some people expected it to. I think training camp is going to be the real, like, and there's not been any kind of bad blood with Mason Rudolph. There's not been any bad blood. I mean, people are falling in love with Will Howard. They are hoping that Will Howard sticks and that he grows. A lot of people are really up on Will Howard right now as a potential future upswing for a Steelers quarterback. And they
And I from what I understand, Aaron has already come out and said he's more than happy to kind of mentor Will Howard. So
I heard that too.
You know, I mean, to me, it blows my mind, and I get that Aaron Rodgers can rub people the wrong way. I get it.
Yeah.
But this is not a guy who goes around beating his wife or other women.
Exactly.
He doesn't have 9 kids with 8 different women. You know,
he ran off Olivia Moon though. That's enough for me.
Did you hear about the latest former Steelers news from just recently this evening? Antonio Brown is now wanted by Miami-Dade police for attempted murder from a boxing match that he attended back in May.
Police? Hey, let me hear something that I did hear. Let me ask you about with Aaron Rodgers though. Now, what are you hearing? And this is how it starts. This is what I'll say. This is how it starts. What are you hearing about him already trying to get the team to bring in Amari Cooper?
Haven't heard a word about that.
Okay, I heard that today.
Here's the thing. Right now, I think the Steelers, like with the way that everything is laying out with who has left and who has stayed, with DK possibly not being a wide receiver too, there's a hole in that wide receiver room. Sure. And I think that the Steelers are going to play it close to the vest and hope that as teams go into camp and things change and players move up and down the charts, suddenly there's going to be a receiver that may not be, maybe it is a fresh first or second year receiver that's got a lot of upside that they can bring in and say, okay, we're going to do receiver by committee. We're not going to truly have a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. We're just going to have Aaron throw the ball to whoever he can find. And hopefully a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you know, Aaron, he has the smarts. He can visualize routes and say, okay, and DK is going to give him room throwing balls. And I think some of these other guys that are more down the depth chart are going to work with him. But it's like there's just not panic. People are not panicking in Pittsburgh that we don't have a true wide receiver 1. Yeah. With Najee Harris leaving and the shakeup in the running back room, there's not panic. Like, I'm not feeling that like we're in trouble. I think this is a year where people are setting the bar. They're kind of saying we're here. Aaron Rodgers is here. If we can get something out of this year, because once again, the big thing going into training camp is this whole, how in the heck has Tomlin never had a losing season? How has he had the wizardry to not lose a season and pull off every year those last couple games, oh my goodness, he ends one game above 500. That seems to be the talk right now. Is more, is the coaching going to do what it needs to do rather than are the players going to do what they need to do? Arthur Smith. Sorry, let me say one more thing, Aaron.
Yeah,
Aaron,
go ahead.
Arthur Smith is just, from what I'm reading, Arthur Smith is just losing his mind about who he's got the ability to work with going into this fall.
Yeah,
that's not going to change the fact that he is a shitty coordinator.
We'll see.
I've already seen it. I live in Atlanta.
I know. We'll see.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I'll just
don't hold your breath.
Again, yeah, I've been one of the few, and I know Steve, you've had been venting a few different times in our private chat group there about this whole thing, and I mean, number one, if you're a Steelers fan, you gotta at least feel a little bit better with Aaron Rodgers going in as your starter than Mason Rudolph. No disrespect to Mason Rudolph, but okay.
I feel better having him as starter than Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, to tell you the truth.
Exactly. Oh, now would you mean Mason Rudolph over those two or Aaron Rodgers over those two?
I will take the room we've got today of Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, all three of them, over what we had last year.
Absolutely. So, I just, I was one of those few people that said, you know what? First of all, I love watching greatness, and as long as it's not playing for the Minnesota Vikings, I'm that much happier about it. And as a Packer fan and somebody who I felt it was time to move on from Aaron and to move on to Jordan Love, and to see if he was going to be the guy and everything. I'm still happy with that move, but I didn't want to see Aaron go out the way he did last year. And I felt like even though it wasn't a terrible year, there's a lot of quarterbacks that if you look at his stats, will take that over what they did last year, but it wasn't up to his standards. And I felt like he was still maybe a little bit hobbled coming back from the Achilles. And I was, as a fan, I was like, I want to see him one more year. Now, if he comes in and has a subpar year again this year with what he has around him, then I'd say, you know what, Aaron, just hang it up, buddy. Just move on, get ready for the Hall of Fame in 5 years and be done. Yep. But I think he's got a very good shot at least making the playoffs. And then, as we've always said, hell, the one Super Bowl he won with the Packers, they barely made the playoffs and then went on a roll.
And then they beat the Steelers. So there we go.
Exactly. and then the next year they went 15-1 and lost the divisional round when they had like a top-notch, number one seed team. Yeah. So you never know once you make the playoffs. And with that defense, speaking of the defense, as we're getting, I wanted to talk to Charles there about his Colts, but what's going on with TJ Watt? What's the latest with that?
Here's the thing. That's what the Steelers are a team, Aaron, that for the high value players, they put up with this little bit of, I'm going to call it showboating, because it's not. It's them making a statement, the player making a statement. It's happened in the past where, someone doesn't think they're getting the number that they expect. So they just take a break and kind of just make their concerns known by they're not showing up. But the Steelers aren't going to sit there and, give TJ a heck about, well, you didn't come to mandatory. They're not going to do that, because they're going to respect that he's just saying, like, look, I have a number I feel I deserve, I should be at. Let's see where we can get to. But there's never been that kind of, it's always been resolved in training camp during the preseason. Like, they've gotten there before. There's been a couple players, it's been a couple weeks into the season.
Sure.
But I think TJ is going to see that this is the year he should be on board, find a number that works for him and the team. Let's go at it. We've got a good core of defensive returning folks. We've got some new faces that have come in through free agency. We've got players that they've drafted. A lot of people see upside here. They see this as a start of positive movement. To tell you the truth, the big question, Aaron, in Pittsburgh is, can Aaron Rodgers be the quarterback that helps the Steelers win their first playoff game in how many years. That's where the talk is. Once again, TJ Watt picked the perfect week to sit everything out because everybody's focused on what's going on up at Oakmont with the US Open, and they're not sitting there on TJ Watt watch down at the Steelers practice facility. This is the week. Like, if you want to do something insane in Pittsburgh sports and you want it to be something that's like, if you want it to be good, this is not the week to do it because you're not going to get the coverage. If you want it to be something that you're like, I need it to get out, but we can bury it, do it right now because you got till Sunday to deal with it.
Nice. All right. So now, Charles, now that you're back, let's talk a little bit about the Colts here. Got Anthony Richardson with a bum shoulder. Is he? Now, I was looking on just to come up with a few different topics to, because it has been kind of, I mean, with the exception of like the Aaron Rodgers and Packers letting go of Jair Alexander, which, is a kind of a big deal. But ESPN has a article that's, 32 questions for each team about their quarterback. And of course, the one for the Colts is, will we ever see Anthony Richardson, as a starter again for the Colts? What are your thoughts on him and Daniel? Is Daniel Jones going to be, taking over the reins permanently?
I've been a big proponent of AR. I was very excited about the draft pick. I love the kid's athleticism. His skill set. That he brings. Some of the stuff that he was missing was stuff that I felt could be taught and more honed in on being in the NFL and being on an NFL team. But I hate to say it, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen for the kid. Some guys are just injury prone. And when you start having problems like he's having with this same shoulder multiple times, that's an issue. That's an issue. And that may be an issue that doesn't go away. I would like to see a full season of AR to see what we actually have in him. But if I was betting money on it, I would say that Daniel Jones may end up being the starter for most of the season. I believe they're going to give Richardson his fair shot for sure.
Yeah.
But right now, from what in the bits and pieces that we've seen, there's good and there's bad.
Yeah.
But some of the existing problems haven't really seemed like they were getting better either. So I don't know talent-wise, and as far as the ability to play the position, if Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson are that far off from each other. And, I know that Daniel Jones has serious ball security issues, and he has got poor vision, especially when it comes to throwing interceptions and all, but he may be the better of the two. We'll see. I think that this is a season where it's not going to matter who the quarterback is for the Colts. Yeah. I think if the Colts are smart about saying it, they want to be in the running for Manning. And I know that a lot of fans would love that too. You bring another Manning, back. Look, if Carly somehow brings another Manning into the franchise, she gets at least 5 years where we're just going to stay off of her. You have just bought yourself 5 years at least of ownership with the good graces of the fan base. Because, you brought us the next Manning.
Sure.
So, but I seriously this season have my doubts. I'm starting to doubt whether he can hold up as a pro quarterback through a whole season. And if your starter can't stay healthy, then you can't build around him. And that's just it's just the facts of it.
Aaron, can I ask a quick question, Charles?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
The Irsay change now that Jim has passed away and now the daughters are taking over. and the fact that the daughter that is going to be the primary owner is basically seen on the sideline with a headset, with a play call sheet.
Oh, did you hear her comments about that?
Yeah, I saw.
Well, she said, okay, so the breakdown for this, Carly is the main one. She's in charge. She has been an active member of ownership for years now. She grew up with this team. She is the one that I wanted. All three of them own it, right? But like Casey is going to be the executive vice president, and Kaylin's going to be the chief brand officer. But Carly is the CEO. She is the so-called like major owner of the Colts. She's going to be the big player. She has been down on the sideline with the headsets. She has been evaluating this team for years. She knows what's going on. This is a girl that knows football. I love Jim. Jim was a great person. Yeah, he had his flaws. He was a great person, but the last few years, I think as far as an ownership standpoint, some of his decisions have been questionable. And I've been kind of quietly waiting. I didn't hope it was going to happen this way. I was kind of hoping maybe he would just retire and kind of hand the keys to the vet over to Carly and say, all right, girl, it's your show. Let's see what you can do. So I am super, super excited about this. Now, the girls, have been going down to ownership meetings. They've done that for several years as well. They know their stuff. They know their stuff. So, and, not to mention that, Casey is actually, if y'all don't know who her husband is, he's a scout for the Colts, but it's also AJ Foyt's grandson. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool too. So now we've got another, Indiana legend kind of name in the mix. So that's kind of just a little bonus for all the, Indiana natives who love old AJ and everything. But yeah, no, this is I hope a great thing. And I hope that, by some of the comments and stuff and, talking about, for those who didn't see, she made some comments about, well, you down there on, the sideline in the headset and you're trying to evaluate a player. And she says, you could have this receiver where everybody thinks this receiver ran the wrong route. But no, it actually could have been somebody calling the play. They called the wrong route to the wrong receiver and things like that. You got to know what's actually going on. And with that kind of mindset, and she said every owner should be doing that. With that kind of mindset, I hope she'll see that Chris Ballard is not the future of this team. And 86 is him at the end of the season, or I'd even be cool with it if it's halfway through the season and stuff. And she's got her own game plan and own vision of how this team should be ran and who should be running this team. And she brings those people in, because right now, man, and Carly, I trust, like straight up. I love it. I'm excited for a new regime. It was Jim's show for a long time, and he made some great decisions for a long time until he didn't. And so now we'll see. And they got it right. I mean, the way that they've split up the ownership, that they got it right. All the girls are in the position that they're going to excel at.
If you're a player that came in during the offseason of the Colts, are you scared of the new transition with ownership? Or do you feel like this may be something that you can really get a chance to prove to new? I mean, she's been around, you've said, so it's not someone that's totally new.
If I'm a player, maybe not as much. Look, there's a list of changes in scouting and front office and stuff that just came out the other day. And if I'm in the front office, if I'm a staff member for the Indianapolis Colts, I'm worried. I'm scared then. Player-wise, no, not yet. I don't know how much player input she's going to have as much as it is putting in the right people in the right positions to make those personnel decisions.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't think she's going to micromanage the roster. I don't think she's going to be that type of owner.
Well, I want to, so let me just circle back here real quick, because Charles, you brought up the whole idea of quietly, being, or quietly hoping for to bring in Arch Manning next season. And that kind of reminded me of something I wanted to ask Steve, going back to your Steelers, and then we'll move on from that. But, one of the criticisms of this whole bringing in Aaron Rodgers thing was there were a lot of fans, from what I heard, maybe you heard differently being actually in Pittsburgh, that are ready for a rebuild. Like let's get, obviously you haven't really had a consistent starter since Roethlisberger retired. And I think you could probably see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Is that something that, first of all, as a Steelers fan, were you kind of hoping that, maybe let me ask it this way, because I know as a Packer fan, we faced this. We haven't really faced it for 30 years, but when I was growing up, we faced it quite a bit. Would you have been fine had they said, you know what, we're going to go with Mason Rudolph as our starter. We're going to go with the room. We're going to pass on Aaron Rodgers. And hey, if we suck, we suck. And then maybe we'll get our quarterback of the future, next year. Would you have been fine with that as a Steelers fan? Or because for me as a Packer fan, I look at it, and maybe it's because we've been spoiled for the last 3 decades now. But my feeling is if we have a chance to make the playoffs, let's make the playoffs. Is that, or what are your thoughts as a Steelers fan?
Torn, because I see both directions. Like there was the mindset of, look, Mason Rudolph is not a slouch. He knows the system. Yeah. He hasn't worked under Arthur Smith because he left for Tennessee when Arthur came in, but he understands the standard is the standard, which we hear every day over and over and over again. But I think there were a lot of people that were like, if we end up with Mason and we end up with Will Howard and we try to find somebody possibly who gets released during a training camp, or, they make an early season pickup, or somebody ends up on a practice squad somewhere that they're like, holy cow, how'd this guy end up on a practice squad? And they sign him off a practice squad and kind of have that be the room. I think there were a lot of people that were like, okay, maybe we'll suck it up for a season.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll just play out where we will just be a cellar dweller for a season, get into that Manning sweepstakes and take a run at him when the draft comes to Pittsburgh. Because that's everybody's thought is, are the Steelers going to position themselves to make some bang in the draft next year when it's in their backyard? Like, is there going to be some headline creating action that's going to happen for draft 2026 when it's here in the Steel City? Then there's the other camp that said, holy cow, they drafted well this year. They put together a draft of players that a lot of them are going to be ready to go week 1 to be a member either as a starter or in rotation for positions out of the gate. Those first couple picks are not guys that are going to be bench warmers. They are going to be out there and they're going to be an active part of the offense and the defense of the Steelers. And I think people are saying, you know what? If we get a guy like Aaron Rodgers and he can pull a season out that brings him back to the heyday or close to it, and we can get receivers and we can just piece things together this season. Okay, we're not going to get as good of a draft position than maybe we would like, but let's win a playoff game. Let's see where this takes us. Let's go on this adventure. I think if Aaron was not as polarizing personally, it would be a no-brainer. And people would be like, bring the guy in. Let's just roll with this. Let's see where this adventure takes us. But I think his stances and his stuff that he does outside of football, honestly, I think that's why the wedding ring showed up on his finger, because I think he's trying to say, look, I'm trying to be more of a whatever you want to say, like responsible man in my personal life, where now I've got accountability to someone else. I know I got my buds with AJ and McAfee on the show and that kind of stuff, but I'm trying to try a new chapter in what I'm doing. So I'm torn. Because if they had said no, Aaron, let's just go with Mason, let's go with Will, let's see if we can find somebody else, I'd have been great. Let's see where this adventure goes. But at the same time, if Aaron Rodgers falls on your lap at the price they got him for, which a lot of people, that's what they're happy about. We don't, 13 million plus a chance for some incentives. A lot of people are like, that is not overpaying for a quarterback at his place in his life cycle in the league.
Exactly.
And if
I was surprised at that.
Yeah. You take a flyer on him at that price. If he has a problem, Rudolph is not a slouch backup.
Sure.
And you start to get reps for Will Howard in case he needs to come in as a backup, and you go with that for this year. I don't want to see another first week Achilles for Aaron, but it has to be in the back of your mind. What happens if there is an injury? He's not going to recover as quickly. Is Mason capable of holding down the fort for X number of weeks, a la what Justin Fields did for us last year? And to be able to carry the team for a couple of weeks, hopefully during an easier stretch of the schedule, and then get Aaron back to finish it off. How do we do it? But that's where I am.
Yeah. Well, and I will say when we talk about, getting him for that kind of a price, I mean, just to transition real quickly, there's a team out there that's going to get a really good deal, I think, on one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, as long as he can stay healthy, and Jair Alexander. I mean, I think he's going to end up, one of the reasons why the Packers from what I heard, couldn't trade him when they were trying to, especially around draft time, is because no one wanted to take on that $17 million contract for a player who has missed, I believe the number was like 32 games in the last 4 years. But if he could stay healthy, he is one of the best, in my opinion, at least one of the top 3, well, maybe top 5, maybe top 3 cornerbacks in the entire league still. He's only, I think, 28 or 29, so he's certainly not old. Somebody's going to get a good deal on that. But Steve, I wanted to give you the floor, because I mean we'll wrap up here. We'll wrap up here, in a little bit. But you had said in the group chat you had a lot to talk about. So why don't you let's hear a little more. What do you got?
Yeah. So basically, just the whole Steelers saga, Aaron, has been a lot of it. And just to wrap up, a lot of folks are saying Myles Garrett making his comment about sending Aaron Rodgers to the graveyard. I'm like, holy cow. How many years did Aaron Rodgers spend in the NFC North, which is just like the AFC North? Yeah. You got 4 teams that all hate each other and play in cold weather cities. It's like, it's the same thing, a couple degrees, whatever it is, latitude south, where now you're going from being up in the frozen tundra to being in the semi-frozen tundra. But he's still going to deal with, the crap in Cleveland and I think the people in Baltimore are going to boo his ass for the first time we play him. I mean, sure. I think that's what it's going to turn into. Like, there's going to be a lot of hate right out of the gate for this guy. Talking baseball really quick.
It'll be fun. I will say it'll be fun to watch. Anyway.
Oh yeah. I'm so happy about the renaissance here in Pittsburgh. They should have done it so much sooner. Why they didn't fire Shelton last year. Don Kelly, local guy, breath of fresh air for this Pirates team. They lost 3-2 tonight to the Cubs. 3-2 to the Cubs. I mean, that to me is a win. Like this, the team has chances. The guy that I feel bad for is Paul Skeens. He is pitching another season of his life. They just haven't been able to support him with wins. Like, he's gotten losses. He's gotten no decisions, not of his fault. His ERA is phenomenal. They're just not giving him the support. But since Don Kelly's taken over, the team looks different. Like, I've actually watched a couple of Pirates games. And when Shelton was the manager, I did not want to. I mean, I was at a game personally when Shelton was still the manager. Like, I just don't think. I think his time had run out in Pittsburgh, and I don't know what they were holding on to. But Don Kelly he has a lot of connections with like Jim Leland and some of the other like legacy Pirates that have given him advice and kind of mentored him. So that's what we've got, and I'm happy for that. Penguins. I'm sorry I'm talking all Pittsburgh tonight, but holy cow. Okay. Yes. Like the Penguins, they hire this guy, Dan Muse, like out of nowhere. Like, who is that? He is a journeyman, not a journeyman, but I mean, he's been an assistant coach. He's been a he's going to set the tone. And now there's a rumor in Pittsburgh that Mary Lemieux and Ron Burkle and a couple other folks are possibly looking to buy back the Penguins, as things are like. This city, guys, it's every day. It's like a new story that comes out of nowhere. You're like, what is going on in the sports world? And now we've got a bunch of professional golfers for the next 4 days that are playing at one of the toughest golf courses in the United States, let alone the world, in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. Actually, it's in Plumboro. It's right next to Oakmont, but that's, another day for another story for another day. But, I'm watching like Rory McIlroy just lose his freaking mind today. I'm watching these guys hit balls out of the rough that go nowhere. They literally hit the ball. It goes 10 feet and lands. I'm like, these are professional golfers, and this course is just eating them alive on Thursday.
It's a tough course.
And we're supposed to get rain this weekend. We're supposed to get Saturday is supposed to be a bad day. If these guys can't play this way in good weather, I can't wait to see what it looks like when the rain starts falling on Saturday.
See, and I'll say this. I loved watching, like, back when Tiger was really rolling, early in his career. I love watching greatness just roll over everybody, whether it's, a football field, golf course, whatever. But there are times when I really enjoy watching them struggle as badly as I do, or almost. Yeah. Well, no one struggles as badly as I do on the golf course, but just like watching them show that they're human, that they can't shoot a 10 under or a 15 under or whatever the hell, it would be. It was so I may have to actually check that out, but we had a busy weekend. But
and then if you haven't seen it yet, I'll finish up with this. Patrick Reed today scored what's called an albatross double eagle. He scored a 2 on a par 5.
Really?
And it was beautiful. Fourth albatross in US Open history.
I'll have to check that out. Did you see, and I don't remember who the player was. I saw a video of it yesterday, and I know it wasn't AI generated because it was from CBS Sports.
Yep.
But it was because they must have, I'm assuming they had a practice round yesterday, being Wednesday. And one of the players hit a putter, and he was 122 yards away from the green, and took out a putter just for fun and hit it, and it was within like 5 feet of the hole. Yep. It was like that kind of stuff I enjoy, seeing in those practice rounds and things.
If you get a chance, even if folks you're not golf fans, look up some of the documentaries and features they've done on the grounds crew at Oakmont and how they've been preparing the ground for this US Open. These guys are they are rolling these greens. They are manicuring these fairways. They are and then they said that they were interviewing some of the players. They were out there on yesterday for their practice round, and they brought some of the guys out to trim the rough because the US Open's USGA says it's got to be at 5 inches. Sure. And they're all like under their breath swearing at them because they're like 5-inch rough. And today you could see the 5-inch rough was killing them. And but yeah, so just Patrick Reed, 286 yards was his second shot, and he holed it.
Nice. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. So that's basically the the whole thing of sports in Pittsburgh right now is everybody's like, yeah, we get the US Open, we get the draft next year, and then in the middle we've got a rebuilding Penguins team. We don't know what's going to happen with the Steelers, and let's see what happens with the Pie. That's the kind of year we're having, is that we have really exciting thing right now, and then we don't know what we're going to have until next April. Nice. So we're soaking this one in, and we're going to soak in what we know we're getting next year. Who knows what we're getting in between? So I'll leave it at that for tonight.
And here, and I will say this. So, okay, moving on to what I was gonna do. I'll go over what I'm planning for, and it's gonna be on the group, on the Dads with Bacon group, and the page on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Working on a website, so I'll put it on the website too. But I had mentioned a while back, this was like a month or two ago. Actually, I think it was around NCAA basketball time. That I wanted to do a 64 team tournament with all the best, all the Super Bowl winning teams, and then take a handful of the teams that didn't win a Super Bowl and put them in there. So I won't go really in depth with it right now because it took me longer to put together, so I didn't have everything, all the, the graphics ready that I wanted to do for the show. But I did put together the first of the brackets, or the first of the, the regions, if you will, if we're going to use phrases from the NCAA tournament, the Shula bracket. So each bracket will be named after, a different legendary head coach. The first one is the Shula bracket. And I want to go over the, I'll preview the top 4 seeds of this particular bracket. And so I have the 72 Dolphins are the number 1 seed in that bracket. The 75 Steelers are the number 2 seed. Number 3 seed, the 98 Broncos. And the number 4 seed is the 2013 Seahawks. So I'll just say those 4. And like I said, I'll have the whole thing. I'll put it up sometime before the end of this weekend. And then when I have all four regions ready, we'll put up there. It's actually, it's a lot of fun though, what I'm doing. And this is like nerd stuff that I do when I'm bored. And hopefully it'll be something fun that we could do with the group that, can get some more engagement, because we're working on that. So on that note, why don't we end with some 4 minutes on high, if anyone has anything. I'm gonna start, Steve, with you. Do you have anything that you wanted to talk about? You want to talk a little bit more about maybe the Pacers and the connections you have there? Go ahead, or whatever.
Yeah. All I want to talk about is the news today about Shamar Stewart leaving mandatory mini camp. Like, the guy has not touched the field for the off-season workouts. And I don't know if you heard, it is centered on the interpretation of language in the contract that could affect guaranteed money. Like, what is going on here? Like, you're starting out on the wrong foot with your team. You're their number 1 draft pick in a very competitive, and you're worried about the language about guaranteed money. Like, I'm sorry. I get it. Even like when we're negotiating salaries for jobs, but it's like,
sure,
what are you doing? Like, you are their number 1 draft pick. You are going to probably be one of the new faces of their franchise moving forward. And you and your agent, like, can't tell the Bengals, hey, can we tweak this? Like, and let me get to camp or whatever. Like, I get it. Older guys holding out, one thing. These younger players on their first and second contracts that feel like they can run the world and, think they got all the power in the world. Like, I just don't like it. You were drafted, you represented yourself for your college and then in the draft, and you were rewarded with a high draft position. Yep. And then you're like, they've got these boilerplate contracts for these rookies that are very similar in language to everybody. And you go in and you're like, I don't know. So I'm going to sit out OTAs, mini camp, possibly go into training camp. Like, what kind of example does that set for a team that it is in a always perennially competitive division as the AFC North is?
Yeah.
You're fooling around. Like, that's just not, I don't like the way, when I saw that headline, I just was like, no. I don't like this, and I would, trust me, as a Steelers fan, I'm like, sit out as long as you want. Like, I don't want you to get reps. But at the same time, I feel bad for the Bengals fan base that he's there. It's not something major. It's language over guaranteed money. That should be probably an easy fix. That's my rant for the rest of the night.
Well, and I was just going to say, as a Steelers fan, you probably, I would, if it was like a Vikings player, I'd be laughing my ass off right now. But at the same time, like, these contracts are all pretty much like you're in a spot, where, like, whatever spot you're in, this is the contract you get. At least that's what I always thought. So, all right.
And one other thing before August 8th, folks, mark it on your calendars. Tom Brady's getting his statue in Foxborough.
Boo!
Hey, did you hear Tom Brady might be trying out for the flag football team in 2028?
Oh God.
Apparently he came out and said that he wanted to possibly play quarterback for the flag football team. Anyway, Charles, you always got something here, man.
What was that date that he's getting the statue?
August 8th.
All right, August 9th. Mark it down. I'm gonna knock that fucking statue down. Yeah, I want to see some brick throwing. You won't have to look at LA. Chicago. All right. I know Aaron always loves it when I go off on things. And if the outcome of this situation had been different, I would be going off on the WWE right now. But I'm not. First off, fuck you, WWE. Shame on you. Shame on you for letting R-Truth go in the first place. That is some bullshit. And I don't want to hear about, ROI or anything like that, because the man's shirts were leading in sales for like the last 2 major events. So you can't tell me that he wasn't bringing in money. That was some bullshit. But thank you. Thank you, Triple H. Thank you, WWE, for listening finally to the fans and bringing back an absolute fan favorite. R-Truth is a fan favorite for many, many reasons. He has just been, a light through the WWE when some of it wasn't so great. He's provided is pure entertainment, comedy relief. Everything that man touches, it turned to gold in his wrestling career over the last 17 years. It really has. He has been incredible. So I am thanking the WWE for flipping the tables, listening to the fans, giving us what we want, so to speak. I know that it's not R-Truth anymore, but look, Ron is already killing it. So I'm cool with Ron Killings. I am very, very excited to see where he goes with that character and kind of branding his own name. But kudos to the WWE, because I don't know if you guys know, but I mean, this blew up. It was ridiculous. Social media, everywhere you looked, anywhere, any page you went to that had anything to do with wrestling or ever talked about wrestling, there was people all over the place just screaming, "We want truth." And so for the WWE to turn around and basically, even though, Triple H didn't actually admit that it was a mistake in its interview after Money in the Bank and things like that and all, they basically did admit that they made a mistake, and they gave the fans what they want, which is not something that the WWE is exactly known for doing. So very excited to see R-Truth back. Awesome move by the WWE for that. And of course, fuck the Dodgers.
All right. So, and I really got nothing, but I thought we could wrap up. Oh, go ahead. This just happened.
I meant to tell y'all that Edmonton scored their 4th unanswered point, but right at the end of regulation, the Panthers tied this up. This game is 4-4 at the end of regulation.
It has been a fun, even for someone like me who isn't super into hockey. It's been some competitive hockey so far.
Oh, come on. Both the NBA and the NHL in the finals with the insane stuff that
entertaining stuff.
I mean, that's the problem. You've got small market teams in both of the finals, yet you're getting some of the best games that we've had in both of these sports in the finals in years.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, as we leave though, let's talk. There's kind of a big thing coming up on Sunday, a thing called Father's Day, and so Steve, what you got any big plans for Father's Day?
It's going to be a kind of, I don't say a low key one, but I think we're going to kind of just soak it in. My daughter presented me. We finished up our school year here locally last week, and she presented me. They did the Father's Day things right at the end, and she did her "What is my dad good for?" And
absolutely nothing.
Well, no, she got my age right for the first time in history. So
nice.
She nailed my age. I'm, little when she. It's one of those times I wish she would have gotten it wrong on the low side, but other than that, it was one of those just nice things, that the kids. And that's the thing about it, is that I'm still lucky enough to have my dad around,
Sure.
and so it's soaking in and realizing one day I'm not going to have the multiple generations around anymore. And so to let me have, time, my wife's father's unfortunately been gone for almost 15 years now. Okay. So my dad has kind of taken her under his wing as kind of a bonus dad. So, Father's Day for them is a special thing as well. But the relationship that my daughter has with my dad, is second to none. And that's the kind of thing that I can't wait to see. I see it every day, but on like Father's Day, I mean, it's just going to be a cool thing. And, cool. We'll watch NASCAR in Mexico City. I kind of, I'm kind of bummed for the race, because I think the race is going to be a letdown compared to the adventures of the hauler drivers getting down there. I mean,
armored cars. And stuff.
Check out the video and the pictures of the freaking armored convoys drive. I mean, that was the NASCAR race. It wasn't the race in Mexico City. It was the haulers getting there in one piece. But happy Father's Day to both of you, and all of our dads out there, with the Dads with Bacon family, and those of you who are, who aren't truly a dad, but are a dad in some other capacity, because there's a lot of those in the world today. And we need those folks. They may not be a true dad, but they do their job as a dad to help folks and to keep folks on the right path.
Absolutely. Charles, why don't you just repeat? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about what your weekend's gonna be like.
Steve said the thing about the age. Let me tell you guys just a quick little story real quick, because this is it's fucking hilarious. At least to me it is. I have joked for years, and my wife is young, and I'll be 46 later this year. My wife is a few years younger than me, but I've joked for years about how my wife is older than me. And for whatever reason, the number is I always go to is, oh shit, she's 52. So my kids are out of school down here before Father's Day. We don't get any fun like Father's Day stuff from school, but they are in school during Mother's Day. And, I always joke, like AJ will ask, how's mom? Oh, your mom's 52 and stuff. And one day he asked me that last year, and it was right before Mother's Day, and I didn't think anything of it. It's like, oh, your mom, she's 52. So the Friday before Mother's Day, he comes home with the thing they did in school. And it's like things about my mom. And it's like, my mom is this and my mom is this. And then right there in the middle of the page says, my mom is 52 years old. And this is like all like nice, like laminated and stuff. And it was one of the days where I had actually picked the boys up from school. My wife was at work, and I saw it. I was like, oh my God, she's going to kill me for this. And it's so funny. And although I've laughed about this for the last year, and it's so funny because AJ and I were just joking about it the other day, and he brought that up to her. We're sitting at dinner tonight, and he's like, Mom, do you remember when I made that thing for Mother's Day and it said you were 52 years old? Like, oh my God. So funny, man.
And it'll be laminated forever.
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
that's right.
You can't throw that away. That's from like kindergarten.
That's right.
First school Mother's Day thing. You gotta save that. So, but yeah, no, I get a two for Father's Day weekend. So I'm going to take Matthew to his very first baseball game. We're gonna go to the Stripers game, and they're doing like a Father's Day like barbecue, like picnic thing too and stuff. Nice. And so we're gonna go to that. I'm hoping that he makes it through all 9 innings. That's the hope. But if he wants to if he wants to leave early, because he's not as big into sports as AJ is, but for whatever reason, he's wanted to go to a baseball game and stuff. So hopefully we'll make it through. It'll be a good game. but we're going to go have some fun. They do the Sunday fun days. So it's like kids run the bases and on the field catch with your kids before the game and stuff. So cool thing for Father's Day. And then, of course, next Sunday, AJ and I will be down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the rest of my Father's Day present, singing Blue Moon and rooting on the Manchester City guys. So very, very excited about all of that, man. I'm very excited. I'm hoping that Matthew, just absolutely is like, oh, this is great, and loves, baseball and stuff. And at the stadium that we're going to, the outfield is actually a lawn. So, we can go out there. You can get lawn seats out there for like $8 and take a blanket and sit out there. But 1 o'clock, June, mid-June, 1 o'clock game on a Sunday, I'm not sitting out there on the grass all day on a blanket. We're going to get covered seats because it's going to be like almost 90 degrees out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The high's like 88 or 89. Hopefully it won't rain. I actually have tried to take him before to a Stripers game, and it poured down rain, and they ended up canceling the game. So hopefully that won't happen. But definitely happy Father's Day to you guys as well. I hope you guys have a great one. And let me just remind all the single mothers out there that you are not a father. Father's Day is for fathers. All right? Take that shit, shine it up real nice, and shove it up your candy asses, okay? You get Mother's Day. I don't care if you're single or not. You have Mother's Day. Don't disgrace Father's Day with your bullshit and your whining because you couldn't keep your man, okay? Father's Day for fathers. Mother Day's for mothers. I don't give a shit how single you are. But I still love y'all. You're doing the Lord's work. It's cool.
Charles, do they still play Cool Ray?
Yes, they do. It's a nice little stadium. Yep. It's a nice little stadium. So it's built up a little bit. They got the apartments around it and stuff now. It's a good little time.
I'll be living vicariously through you for the Manchester City.
Oh, yeah, man, come on down. You can get seats for like $30-$40 now.
Trust me, man. If I could pull it off with work, I'd be there, but I can't. So you are my vicarious supporter.
Ben said he was coming down to Atlanta in June. I was hoping that he was going to be down like that. I was like, dude, come see some world-class soccer.
Yeah, I think it might be in a couple of weeks that he's going to be down there.
I'll
just wrap up with for us, it's going to be a crazy weekend because my son's birthday is actually on Monday, the 16th. And but my daughter plays softball on Mondays and Wednesdays. So it's like, and I work during the day. So we're actually celebrating it with him and some of his buddies. I'm taking them to play laser tag at some place here in town on Saturday afternoon. Yep. And then we got the grandparents coming for dinner that night. And then on Sunday for Father's Day, my mother-in-law's mother. So I don't know if that's a grandma-in-law or what, but she turns 100. So they're having a big party for that. So, and I don't even know honestly if she turns 100 on that day or when is her actual birthday, if it's on the 15th or not. But so we got a whole thing for that. And so it's going to be a crazy weekend. I love the fact that my wife, being a teacher, obviously she's out of school right now. So all the cleaning that we always do during the school year on Saturdays, she does during the week. So thankfully, Saturday during the summer times are more for, instead of being half of the day working and then the other half you try to fit something in, it's like we can actually do fun stuff all day. So yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend for us, but yeah, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And Charles, I do agree with you. That annoys the hell out of me when it's my father. It's like, come on. We don't try to hijack. Single dads don't try to hijack Mother's Day.
Right?
Exactly. It's that. So
let us have this one thing. Jesus, you take everything else from us. Let us have this one damn thing.
Damn right. All right, guys. You guys have a great Father's Day, and we'll see everybody back here next week, and we'll talk more of whatever's going on in the world of sports. So have a great week, guys.
I like